Hi, I'm Danielle Block, Senior Client Partner here at Merkle.
And I'm Sonya Hand, B2B Strategy Lead for Merkle.
And today we're here to talk to you about account-based marketing. And one of my favorite parts of account-based marketing is getting a personalized marketing campaign in market that's really tailored by both account and persona.
And there's a real drive in the industry for this right now because it's been proven out by the data, right? So we see like 171% lift in average contract value. We see more rapid deals coming to terms. We see 48% higher win rates and an 84% increase in reputation scores.
It's obvious that it can be used to drive pipeline and revenue, so clearly there's value, but it can feel daunting if you're a company that's just starting on your account-based marketing journey. And we know that different organizations are at different maturity levels. So one of the ways that we recommend that our clients or any company start is by making sure their marketing and sales teams are aligned on that key account list that they're going to start to go after.
Another one of the things that companies need to consider when they're first starting out is a lot of times we see clients that are struggling because they're thinking about demand gen versus account-based marketing. And they're thinking of that classic sort of demand gen funnel, and then they've seen this picture of account-based marketing that looks a little more like this. And they think that it's an either-or decision, but in reality, it's not. We really think of it as a double funnel. Sort of turn it on its side, and we say, we need quantity, which is that wide net for demand gen, as well as the quality that very focused account-based marketing strategy gives us. And so it's really all about using the business goals to be able to derive a very specific go-to-market strategy around those accounts.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. These efforts are not competitive with each other. They're really complementary. You want to make sure that you are going after the accounts that you've aligned on with sales, but that you're not missing the other accounts that are currently in market and actively looking for your types of solutions. One of the other things that we think companies should do when they start is to look at that key account list and decide what their segmentation strategy is going to be. So are you in a position where you're a more mature organization and you can choose to go to a one-to-one or white glove approach? Or are you looking for commonalities between your accounts, such as looking for industries that are in common or personas that are in common and taking more of a one-to-many approach?
So we get clients, and I know you know this, Danielle, who ask us a lot kind of where to start. And, sometimes they're starting with, you mentioned industry. So a good example of that would be by industry. For instance, let's say they're a tech company and they're looking across their industries and they say, hey, we've got a lot of high value accounts within financial services. So they go ahead and they start to look at that. They develop an ideal customer profile. What's the ideal customer look like? They then define their target account list within financial services, and they determine a use case. So let's say in financial services, one of the big use cases that they feel that they can meet the need for is, decreasing cost across the data center. So increasing operational efficiencies. So they use that use case then as that first step in terms of the account-based marketing sort of strategy going forward.
Yes, and just like you would embark on any type of new marketing strategy, you're going to want to make sure that you're defining that proof of concept or that pilot with the measurement framework as a foundational building block, right? You want to be able to say that it was successful and then be able to scale. So we really encourage our clients and companies to track KPIs and leading indicators to help optimize and measure success of that program so that they continue to get investment. What are some common metrics that companies can leverage to measure the success of ABM efforts?
Yeah, so it really depends. I think this is the third time I've mentioned business goals, right? Because it comes back to the business goals. What are the goals of the business? But we see metrics for ABM moving sort of in there's sort of a maturation process. There are those kinds of KPIs that we tend to start with, right? Things like click-through rates, lead captures, contact acquisition, those sorts of things. And that's usually where a lot of companies start. And then we move towards more value-based and higher levels of engagement. Sometimes it's webinar engagements and attendance. But it can also go into, eventually we get into, average contract value or pipeline, total pipeline value. And eventually, customer lifetime value. Those are really the kinds of KPIs that we're generally working towards eventually.
One of the other common pain points for companies that are just getting started with ABM is that there's an overwhelming amount of content that's needed to keep up with that level of personalization. So another foundational building block for any ABM program is making sure that your tech stack is really in place and helping you drive those personalization efforts. We also recommend starting with the content that's already available. Perhaps there's things that can just be tweaked or tailored to meet that level of personalization. Do a gap assessment so that you can prioritize where you need to create new content and prioritizing what those net new assets are going to be so that you're not taking on that content investment all at once. So it's really about leaning into technology and AI to help you keep up with those content demands. And there's a lot that can be done to enhance that content supply chain or content at scale that would help you really scale the level of personalization and content and make it feel a little bit more manageable, at least at first.
Yeah, some of the techniques that we also lean into in addition to that is sort of a modular and templatized approach. And then leaning into, specific AI engines like Gen AI or Adobe Sensei or Adobe Firefly. But it's not just Adobe, we are agnostic and, there's lots of different tools that are available out there that are really strong and helpful tools that our clients use.
What are some other best practices that we think our clients need to get right?
Yeah. So I think the right ABM framework and strategy is important in terms of a top-down. And then, we were talking about data and tech also from the bottom up. But ensuring that you have the right op model in place to support account-based management is really important. And then that tech and data, because, of course, a lot of account-based management we're talking about is bridging those gaps that we tend to have in terms of silos between marketing and sales and eventually service. We usually start with marketing and sales, but eventually we want to tie in with service too. So it's that tech and data underpinning as well. So that's really important. Audience data and insights is also really critical, really understanding the customer, because that's really about what this is about. It's about personalizing for those account personas. So understanding the critical personas, whether it's, C-level, decision maker, and then like a developer for a tech company, for instance. And then orchestrated experiences across multiple channels. So not just looking at paid media channels, which is where we tend to start, but also thinking about email, web, on-prem, event, there's sales touch points. There's a lot to consider there and service as well. So orchestrating that complete experience.